The age-old debate, Chaos Space Marines versus Loyalist Space Marines. Let's break it down, shall we? Chaos Space Marines are often stronger and more durable than a standard Loyalist Space Marine. That's for sure. However, in the fog of war, it isn't as plain and simple as it may seem. It isn't just plot armor that allows a Loyalist Astartes to defeat a Chaos rival in more engagements than one can count. On a one-on-one basis, comparatively, a Chaos Space Marine, particularly a veteran of the Long War, or one blessed by a Chaos God with many blessings, is likely to be stronger and tougher than a standard Loyalist Space Marine. But there are reasons as to why, time and time again, they are defeated and pushed back, even on a level playing field and when facing off with similar numbers, and it isn't just plot armor. Let's get into it. Let's begin with overall experience. On the surface, a Chaos Space Marine seems like the ultimate veteran, the Astartes of the Horus Heresy and the Great Crusade era. They are the ones who were stomping around the galaxy when the Emperor was still alive and well. Some of these guys are walking history books, having fought in battles so ancient that the engagements precede the Imperium itself. These are the fabled veterans of the Long War, badass warriors who've survived the Horus Heresy, the Legion Wars, the Black Crusades, the Slave Wars, and millennia in the Warp. They have fought Primarchs, wielded relics older than many Imperial worlds, and have chewed through armies like they were appetizers. Those who have been around for centuries or millennia have experience that makes them absolute nightmares on the battlefield. They have mastered every tactic and have had centuries to perfect their craft. And let's not forget the fun little gifts they've received from the Dark Gods. A veteran of the Long War might have warp-enhanced reflexes, or demonically possessed armor, or an axe that eats souls for breakfast. But here's the twist. Not all Chaos Space Marines are cut from that same cloth. In fact, the majority of Chaos Space Marines are more like, recent hires. Some of the remnants of once loyal chapters have got smacked with an excommunicate traitore stamp from the Inquisition and decided, well, guess we're the bad guys now, right? A vast majority of the basic Chaos Space Marines are new recruits, pulled from the ranks of cultist members, or kidnapped and then forcibly gifted by a corrupt gene seed and forced to become a Chaos Space Marine, indoctrinated in the ways of chaos. And they're slapped on the back with a power armor plus blessings from the Chaos Gods. However, these are still Space Marines and their abilities are top-notch compared to the rest of the canon fodder. So the Warp isn't just their home, it's their playground. Spiky boys get access to psychic powers, unholy boons and relics of such power they'd make a thunder hammer look like a child's toy. Even if they're not as experienced as the Long War veterans, Chaos Marines fight dirty and bring a level of ferocity that makes them unpredictable. Here's where things get spicy. Time in the Warp doesn't really flow normally. A Chaos Space Marine might remember fighting in the Horus Heresy as if it were yesterday, because for them, it very might have been, well, yesterday, even though 10,000 years have passed. Or they could have spent centuries in the Warp fighting endless wars and battles with each other and accumulating unholy power only to step out into the Materium, the real space universe, and find that barely a decade had passed. But that time in the Warp comes with downsides. Prolonged exposure messes with the Space Marine, physically, mentally, and spiritually. Mutation is rampant, and not all Chaos Marines manage to keep their sanity intact. The longer you're in the Warp, the more likely you are to end up as a mindless Chaos spawn or a plaything for the gods. Now let's take a deep look into the blessings of the Chaos God and how they are advantages and disadvantages. So while the blessings of the Chaos Gods do enhance a Chaos Space Marine to be stronger, more resilient, and even more psychically gifted to varying degrees than regular Loyalist Astartes, the blessings also take away or suppress certain things that would make them effective in warfare. It's a tit for tat. You have to give something to get something, a fair trade. That is, if fair is even a word in the eyes of the ruinous powers. Chaos blessings are always a double-edged sword. Sure, they make Chaos Space Marines stronger, tougher, or more psychically gifted than their Loyalist counterparts, but there's always a cause. Maybe it's a slow mind, a lack of discipline, or a crippling obsession with blood, rot, or sensation. Chaos Marines might have power in spades, but they often sacrifice the qualities of what makes them effective warriors in the first place. That's the genius of chaos. It gives with one hand and takes away with the other, creating warriors who are as flawed as they are fearsome. The Rubric Marines are the ultimate example of a chaos blessing gone sideways. Once proud warriors of the Thousand Suns, they're now basically walking tombs, dust held together by ancient sorcery and powered armor. Thanks to the infamous Rubric of Ahriman, they are immune to mutation but also stripped of their will and free thought and also body. These guys are eerily efficient as automaton-like infantry, immune to fear, pain, or even the passage of time. But here's the thing, they've lost what makes a Space Marine dangerous. No cunning, no adaptability, no tactics. They just march and shoot. A clever commander can outmaneuver them without too much trouble. Of course, there are the sorcerers of the Thousand Suns, the ones that lead these Rubric Marines, and they're a whole different story. Thousand Sun sorcerers are nightmares on any scenario, wielding psychic powers that can level armies or rip apart reality itself. Now the Plague Marines. These boys are walking biohazards, swollen with Nurgle's gifts. Their armor is bloated and rotting, their bodies riddled with disease, and their minds, well, a little bit slower. They can shrug off wounds that would kill even the toughest Loyalist Astartes. But the trade-off is that they're not exactly spry anymore. Sure, they look like lumbering sacks of pus and rot, but don't be fooled, they can still move fast when they're needed to. That said, over time their bloated bodies and Nurgle's influence do seem to take a toll on their speed and sharpness. In the book Lords of Silence, a veteran Plague Marine named Vorx even notes how new converts like Dragon seems almost alien to the older Death Guard Marines because of his aggression, speed, and energy. The veterans, by contrast, are so used to their slow, deliberate style of fighting that it's almost become second nature. Now we come to the World Eaters, Khorne's favorite blood-soaked lunatics. These guys are absolute monsters in close combat, but they've traded reason, tactics, and sanity for endless rage and the butcher's nails. Those nails drive them into a constant state of murderous frenzy, which is great for chopping off enemies but terrible for making sound battlefield decisions. World Eaters charge headlong into battle with no regard for their own safety. Subtlety? Never heard of it. Coordination? Nah. They live to kill, and that single-minded obsession makes them predictable. Smart opponents lure them into traps, into kill zones or flanking maneuvers where their berserker fury becomes their liability. If the World Eaters are Chaos' blunt instrument, the Emperor's children are the warped artists. These guys are arguably the most messed up traitor legion, and not because of their obsession with excess. Their devotion to Slanesh has fractured them into a chaotic mess of competing warbands with no real hierarchy or structure left to speak of. The Emperor's children are infamous for their endless pursuit of pleasure and sensation, which leads to all kinds of outlandish mutations and enhancements. Noise Marines, for example, have such heightened senses that their entire existence revolve around seeking extreme experiences. This makes them terrifying in battle, where their sonic weapons can shred enemies into pink mist. But it also makes them unreliable. Why stick to a sound strategy when there's something better sounding elsewhere? Now let's take a look at war gear. When it comes to Chaos Space Marines, there's no such thing as standard issue. These guys are as diverse as they are dangerous. You might have a grizzled veteran of the Long War, a Chaos Marine who's been around since the Heresy, living in the Eye of Terror, racking up more wars than they can remember, blessed with boons from their dark patrons. Or you might have some newly minted shock troop pulled from the Warlord's fresh batch of recruits, raised with crude gene seeds and barely tempered by a few blood-soaked gladiatorial bouts. Maybe you've got a tactical marine from a once loyal chapter stranded on some backwater planet abandoned by the Imperium. They've once swore to protect and left with no choice but to turn to chaos. Chaos Space Marines have access to pretty incredible gear, at least in theory. During the Heresy, they've walked away with a ton of Crusade-era equipment, artifacts of war that have long since been lost to the Imperium. Some warbands still use these ancient weapons and armor, maintained or corrupted by the Dark Mechanicum. Then there are the Demon Engines, which are nightmarish blends of machine and warp energy, capable of wreaking absolute havoc everywhere. But here's the catch, not every Chaos Marine gets access to these toys. Maintaining this old technology is a logistical nightmare, especially when your only tech support is the Dock Mechanicum, a group that's more interested in summoning warp horrors than fixing your busted bolter. Land speeders, drop boards, and other specialist gear, good luck keeping those running without a dedicated forge world at your beck and call. Meanwhile, Loyalist Space Marines have access to hypnotherapy, extensive medical care, and a steady supply chain of the Adeptus Mechanicus, as well as many forge worlds and Imperial worlds that create all the ammo and supply for them. For the Chaos Marines, well, you'd be lucky to have some kind of alliance with a Dock Mechanicum, otherwise you'd have to take care of yourself. One of the biggest issues for Chaos Space Marines is simple: supplies, ammo, weapons, armor, even basic necessities like food and slaves. They don't just fall out of the warp. Most warbands have to scrape and scavenge to keep their campaigns going, which often means turning on each other. Why share when you can take, right? A perfect example of this issue faced by the Chaos Space Marines is from the story called The Laws of Excess, and here we see the Adored, which is a warband that came from the Emperor's Children. Led by the Chaos Lord Xantine, they were running dangerously low on supplies, so much that they were pillaging every backwater world they could find, and that wasn't enough. They eventually set their sights on an agri world called Serene, desperate to stock up on food, ammo, and anything else that they could carry. Well, funny enough, they saved that world from gene stealer infestation, but that's another story. So it wasn't about glory or conquest, it was about survival. Raiding is a way of life for Chaos Marines. Imperial worlds are frequently targeted, not just for their supplies but also for slaves to fuel their war engines and dark rituals. These raids might seem random, but they're often a matter of sheer necessity. Chaos Marines might win a battle one day and be fighting over rations the next. All of this adds up to the chaotic mess, well, literally. So Chaos Space Marines are dangerous because they're unpredictable, but that same unpredictability makes them vulnerable. Some warbands are incredibly well equipped, like the Black Legion for example, led by ancient veterans with a treasure trove of relics and demonic engines. Others are barely scraping by, using whatever scraps they can find, or worse, fighting each other over dwindling resources. The very nature of chaos is, well, chaotic. Most traitor warbands operate more like pirate crews or loose gangs than a disciplined military force. They're driven by personal ambition, a desire for glory, or the whims of their dark patrons. While this can make them unpredictable and dangerous, it also makes them fragmented and difficult to control. Few Chaos Lords possess the authority or charisma to unify their warbands effectively. Even when a Chaos Lord lays out a solid battle plan, the individual Chaos Marines under their command are prone to going off script. Whether it's chasing personal glory, indulging in excess, wanton slaughter, or simply being too arrogant to follow orders, Chaos Marines often end up undermining their own efforts. The Loyalist Space Marines, however, are paragons of discipline and unity. The Codex Astartes, the tactical guide written by Rebooty Gilliman himself, isn't just a book of rules, it's a strategic masterpiece. It provides a framework that allows multiple chapters of Loyalist Marines to operate seamlessly as a single force, even at the same time coordinating with the Imperial Navy, the Astra Militarum, or other branches of the Imperium like the Inquisition, the Sisters of Battle, the Sisters of Silence, or maybe even the Adeptus Custodes. This kind of discipline is invaluable on the battlefield. Loyalist Marines are trained to prioritize the mission above personal glory. Their squad-based tactics ensure every Marine works in concert with the other brothers of theirs, leveraging their strengths together, covering their weaknesses. Unlike Chaos Marines who might splinter off to pursue their own objectives, Loyalists stay focused on the bigger picture. Loyalist Space Marines don't fight alone. The Imperium's vast resources mean that they can call on the Imperial Navy for orbital support, the Astra Militarum for being human shields and manpower, and the Adeptus Mechanicus for tech and logistics. Chaos warbands, by contrast, have to fend for themselves, relying on raids and scavenging to keep their campaigns going. This logistical advantage allows Loyalist forces to maintain a consistent supply of ammunition, reinforcements, and strategic options. Remember, the strength of the army depends on the supply route. Organized resistance, particularly from Loyalist Astartes, It's the Achilles heel for most Chaos warbands. While the core force of a Chaos assault might be well placed, the fringes are often poorly coordinated. Chaos Marines given independent objectives tend to go rogue, leaving gaps in their lines and exposing weaknesses. Loyalist commanders are trained to exploit these fractures, using the precision of the Codex Astartes to divide and conquer their disorganized enemies. The Night Lord's novels illustrate this perfectly. The Night Lords, while individually lethal, often lack the discipline and unity to press a coherent assault. Instead of finishing a battle quickly and decisively, they are prone to distractions, flaying and torturing prisoners, indulging in sadistic games, or abandoning the mission entirely for personal gain. Loyalist forces, by contrast, stay focused on the objective, leveraging their superior coordination to turn the tide of battle. In the end, however, Loyalist Space Marines have the edge because of their discipline, unity, and access to resources. Chaos Marines might be individually stronger with blessings from the warp and millennia of experience, but their lack of organization and fractious nature of their warbands often spell their downfall. The Codex Astartes provides Loyalist Marines with a tactical framework that allows them to outmaneuver and outlast their chaotic counterparts, turning even desperate battles into victories. And then there is the plot armor. Well, if you're the main character of the storyline, whether it be a Chaos Space Marine or a Loyalist Space Marine, you'd probably end up being the victor in the end. Anyway, I hope you have enjoyed watching this video. Do hit that like button for support and subscribe. But most of all, smash that bell icon for regular updates on new videos on this channel. Take care, boys.